Ohio. Rivne, the city in the northwest of Ukraine. Administrative center of the Rivne region, Rivne district and Rivne agglomeration. It is located on the river Dnieper. Name. There are several versions of origin of the name of the city. On one of them, the name happens because of placement of the city on the flat area. According to other version, the name comes from the word ditch, because of availability at the settlement of the most powerful defensive ditches. There are some more versions related to Ostrowski's princes. They built up the city because here their ownerships came to an end. Exactly to this city. At princes together with this city was exactly 100 cities. Manors of princes were located exactly this area. But these versions look doubtfully as the city carried over Ostrowski only in 1518. After reduction of the name of the city in compliance to rules of the Ukrainian spelling, and record it as only the resolution of the Supreme Council of Usher of June 11, 1991, the divergence with its traditional Russian name arose. In view of close relationship of the Ukrainian and Russian languages, toponyms of Ukraine are transferred to Russian in a transcription which can be partial or complete. With replacement of suffixes and determinations or replacement of the correlated sounds in a root. Replacement of the correlated sounds at which the root letter corresponds to Russian O, and the termination of an adjective is applied to the Arna names having a root of a word, uniform with Russian, an exact compliance on sense, it is replaced with Russian. As a result, the name equal would have to turn out. The name exactly, from this point of view, transfer of the Ukrainian adverb irano. The Rivne option represents a complete transcription from the Ukrainian original, taking into account the rule by which the letter E after concordance is transferred by the Russian letter E. The transcription, which is usually applied to names where there is no exact compliance of a root with Russian, is used in the official translations into Russian of documents of the President of Ukraine and the Cabinet of Ukraine. Despite it, in Russian the traditional name exactly is generally used. In rules of the Russian spelling, the name exactly does not incline on cases. History. The first known written mention about exactly as about one of settlements of the Galицko-Volhynsky Principality is dated 1283. It is entry in Latin in the Polish Chronicle of Rocznik Kapituli Krakowski. Regularly appears in historical sources since the 15th century. From the second half of the 14th century, the city was included into Grand Duchy of Lithuania. In 1492, during government of the Grand Duke Lithuanian and the King Polish Casimir IV Jagiellon, the city acquired the Magdeburg right. From 1518 to 1621 was owned by Princes Ostrowski. Since 1569 the city departed from Kiev to Poland. In 1667, as a result of the Androsowski Agreement, exactly remained under the power of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. The same year in the city there was plague epidemic. In 1691 it was devastated by the strong fire. In 1703, during Northern War, the city was occupied by Karl XII's troops. In the 17th-18th centuries the city was in ownership of various Polish magnates, since 1723 in ownership Szlachecki Lubomirski. Development of the city is to a great extent obliged to Lubomirski family, and them it became the center of their ownerships on Volhynia. Lubomirski within 200 years lived in the residence, the local lock which was reconstructed for them by January de Witt in style of Rococo. In 1792 Lubomirski in their lock were visited by Tadeusz Kosciuszko. In 1795 the city departed to the Russian Empire, having received the status of the district city. From 1921 to 1939 was as a part of Poland as the district center of the Wołyńsk voivodeship. As a result of the Polish campaign of the Red Army in September 1939 and the subsequent reunion of the Western Ukraine with Hussar exactly received the status of the regional center of the neogenic Rivne region, which was a part of the Ukrainian Ser, one of the federal republics of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Hussar. On June 28, 1941 the city was exactly occupied by troops of the Third Reich. From August 20, 1941 to February 2, 1944 was the capital of Recommissariat Ukraine. At the beginning of Nazi occupation a half of the population of the city was made by Jews. On November 6-8, 1941 230,000 Jews were shot in Sosenki's forest. The remaining 1,500 people were driven in a ghetto and destroyed in July 1942. In 1942-1944 in the neighborhood of the city the Soviet guerrilla prospecting and diversionary group, Pobediteli, under command of the hero of the Soviet Union D.N. Medvedev worked. As a part of group the Soviet intelligence agent Nikolai Kuznetsov acted. During the Wolyńsk slaughter the city became the place where about 30,000 Polish refugees from the villages destroyed by UPA took cover. Germans deported more than 20,000 from them for forced labor in the Third Reich. The Polish underground cell of Army But Krajowa, which members in 1944 were a part of the 27th Wolyńsk Infantry Division, worked in the city. On February 2, 1944 the city was exactly freed from German Nazi occupation by parts of the 1st Ukrainian Front of the Red Army during the offensive Equal and Lutsk operation performed for the purpose of a scope of the left wing of the German group of Red Armies and creation of conditions for striking a blow on its back, connections under command of the General N.F. Vatutin. To the troops participating in release exactly in other cities, by the order of the Supreme Commander I-5. Stalin of February 5, 1944 it is thanked officially and in Moscow the salute by 20 artillery volleys from 224 tools is given. The order of the Supreme Commander of No. A22 in commemoration of the one victory of connection and a part, caused a stir in fights for release of the city exactly. In the night of March 7 the city attacked group of UPA, insurgents burned in suburbs a local military registration and enlistment office. During the post-war period the city quickly was restored, under construction. The science and culture developed. The Teachers Institute, opened in 1940, was recreated, renamed and in 1953 opened again as the Rivne Teacher Training College. In 1955 the Rivne Town House of Culture opened. In 1959 in the Kiev Engineering and Meliorative Institute, renamed into the Ukrainian Institute of Engineers of Water Management, was exactly translated. In 1960 the new building of the Rivne Regional Musical and Drama Theatre was built. In 1968 on Belloy Street, on the largest place of executions, the memorial to the victims of Nazism was open. On June 6, 2012 an anti-Semitic incident occurred and the memorial was profaned by hooligans. During 1960-1970 new state industrial enterprises were created. In 1963 the Rivne flax processing business, largest in Europe, was open. In 1969 there began the activity the Rivne chemical fertilizers plant. On November 22, 1970 the first stage of the Rivne plant of autotractor spare parts was put into operation. In 1977 were constructed new air terminal on 300 places and a complex of buildings of Motor Transportation Technical School here. Climate of the city moderately continental. Air temperature in the city reached the maximum value for a history of observations. 36.4 C. In September 2015. The absolute minimum of temperature of January was recorded in 1987 when air cooled down up to 34.5 C. The Rivne Regional Musical and Drama Theatre, the Rivne Philharmonic Hall are known for the creative achievements. In the city also puppet theatre, a zoo, museum of local law, 2 movie theatres works. Ukraine Movie Theatre. Earlier, Zoktan. And Movie Theatre of Air. In the former Church of St. Anthony there is a house of organ music now. The center of cultural development of youth of the city is the Palace of Children and Youth, where for several decades the set of the circles and sections covering various subjects from dances to fundamentals of engineering work. The Rivne Literary Organization totals over 30 people of prose writers and poets. In different years Alexander Bogachik, Evgeny Shmorgan, Stepan Baby, Lydia Rybenko headed it. Parks and rest. Shevchenko's Park is a monument of landscape gardening art of the state value. It is based at the end of the 18th century, and today the age of some trees reaches 200 years. There are 150 species of trees and bushes, many of which are brought from far away. The area of the park -32 hectares. In the park there is a Leko Dundik's grave, which is at the same time a monument. Along a current of the city river the mouth is created several reservoirs on which coast green zones are broken. The most well-planned and interesting of them, Gidra Park, who is in the place of the former estate of Princes Lyubomirsky. Economy. In such enterprises as Piskrivnazit, the plant of the high-voltage equipment exactly work. Factories belong to the enterprises of light industry. Sewing and non-woven fabrics. The enterprises of a construction complex work. Plants house building and large panel housing construction, Po Ravnos Heaton, plant of the dry construction mixes, Adenol. The woodworking industry is provided by Ravnoderev Production Association. The Arene Brewery works. The factory on processing of amber and production of Ukrebersten jewelry works. In the territory of the Rivne region there are fields and there is an extraction of amber. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.